Welcome to Final Thoughts Podcast, brought to you by CrossfaderLA.com, blending culture and creativity.
All right. So, welcome back, everybody. Season 2, we're kicking it off. Welcome to Final Thoughts Podcast. I am Mario. You have Jeremiah up there. You have Jonathan over there. Glad to have you guys back joining us. We have a new format, and it's going to go a little something like this. So, we're going to start with the news. We're going to talk about whatever's hot, whatever's exciting. We're not going to take too much of your time, but we're going to talk about certain hot topics, and we'll go into our opinions about it or just share that information with you. And we hope to keep it up to date, informative, and interactive. So anytime you hear something, want to talk about it, drop us a comment, leave us a note, send us an email, throw up a smoke signal if you need to. Hit me on my hip, on my pager, whatever you need to do. Just go ahead and share that information with us, and we'll gladly address it on our next episode. Then after we talk about the news, we're going to dive into singles. Each one of us is going to pick a single for the week. So for me, I'll have my single, Jeremiah will have his single, and John will have his single, and we'll talk about it collectively for a short period of time. We want to talk about what's new, what's hot, what's on the airwave, maybe what's everyone talking about, but it should be fun and exciting. And lastly, we're going to talk about the album of the week. So we're going to be more diversified, open our minds, our ears. And so we're not just going to go off of R&B or hip hop. We're going to diversify ourselves and just kind of look at what's hot on Billboard. Look at what came out last week and use that as a guide to pick an album. Um, how we pick an album, we haven't really figured that part out. I don't know if we're going to do dice, roulette, a D&D tournament, but we're going to use some form of way to pick an album, and then we're going to talk about it. It should be hot, exciting, and once again, informative and interactive. So we look forward to it. We have fun talking about music. We all have a passion for music from a different perspective, and it's a great way for us to share our thoughts and ideas with you. And we're glad to have all you guys here.
Perfect. Thank you, Father.
Glad to be a part.
So, with that being said, should we dive into the news?
The visionary has spoken.
Let's go ahead. Let's get into the news. So I'll kick us off with a news article that I wanted to talk about. The most exciting thing, well, not exciting, one of the most interesting things I've seen this last week was an article from Metro Booming. Metro Booming was talking about how much money, how many streams it takes for an artist to make money on a streaming platform. He said something along the lines of a person would have to stream a song 25,000 times just for the artist to get about $25. And I was like, dang, that's crazy. And he also said that his next album, I think he said it, I don't know if he said it was Future, but I think he said his next album will most likely be his last album on streaming services. Whether he holds true to that or not, I don't know. I think that's a really bold statement. But Metro Boomin has had a really hot year. He's sold a lot of records on his albums. I think I would, without researching it, I would say he might be the most successful producer over this last year. So for him to go out and say that he doesn't plan on releasing his albums on streaming in the future, I think could be a big deal. Whether or not he actually does or does not, we'll have to wait and see. But what are your guys' thoughts about that, about streaming for artists?
There has been a lot of talk among different people in the music industry of how streaming is the new, almost like highway robbery. It's a shame of how difficult it is for an artist to make money off of streaming.
Streaming is not as lucrative as it probably should be for artists around the world.
Yeah. I was gonna say there's a musical group I follow called Starkid, and they do a different musical every year. They're pretty popular on YouTube, etc. And a practice they've started doing, I think, the past couple of years, is that there was a time where they would release a show, perform it like for a couple of weeks or so, and then once it was off stage, upload the songs to Spotify, upload like the original cast recording. It's very common practice. They have started doing a thing though, where let's say for their most recent show, which was Nerdy Prudes Must Die, they did that show, they did the cast recording, and they made up statements saying, "Hey, we're waiting a year before we put this on Spotify. If you want the music for yourself, you can buy it for us from us directly." And I think that model of saying, "Hey, this will go on the streaming eventually, but first, if you want to early buy it from me," it's gonna be more and more popular as the bigger artists look to different ways to monetize their music with how predatory streaming is.
Actually, I was like, as you were talking, I actually came to the idea. I was like, oh man, they should do what movies we do with movies and like have it in the theater only. Have it in the theater only for like a month before. You get
Yep.
over that? The first month, the album should only be available for purchase, and then after the first month is up, we put it on streaming. Um, I think that it'd be nice just to encourage people to go out and buy the album. Maybe include something special with the album. Maybe buy it physically, like in the store, like a poster or something simple like that. But I think that like artists should go back to trying to generate record sales instead of record streams, especially because, as I feel like I talked about multiple times, um, streaming I think has a negative impact on an album's quality, just the way the system's set up.
So the comment that Daniel Eck, he made a comment on Twitter, on X, and basically the comment was the cost of creating content is close to zero, and so that created a backlash from multiple
Oh,
different
okay.
artists when he said that. So that was the tweet they got him roasted. So, but side note to what you said originally about artists um, generating sales, from albums. The single that we're going to talk about in a minute is from a group called the Sacred Souls, right? And their album doesn't drop until October 24th, 2024. However, the song is out now, and they are generating sales through their platform, through their personal platform. It's daptone.com. And if you want to buy the album through pre-sale, or instead of going to Spotify or Amazon, you go directly to that website. You can buy content directly from there, and then that revenue goes directly to the artist. So yes, there is a different way to formulate sales. It doesn't all have to go through the major record companies nowadays. So
I mean, honestly, this isn't even just a music specific thing too. I think this is an issue across digital media, of just the idea that getting your views on your product is not enough to translate into monetary value. That's why you think YouTubers and podcasters do a lot of Patreons, do a lot of sponsorships to recoup those costs for making whatever show or thing they're making. But music can't really put an ad in the middle of their album and say, "Hey, go buy a new Mr. Clean watch," right? And so, they'll have to, like you said, turn to other ways of. And then I think a big way is that on Spotify you can now directly sell merchandise to
Don't
your
say that.
fans.
Sorry. Go ahead. I'll let you finish.
No, okay, I was saying on Spotify now you can sell merchandise to your fans directly, which I think is a very clear X to Y of here's how you getting more eyes on your music is gonna get you money. See where people want to buy and support you, right?
Yeah.
And
Makes sense.
I feel like those kinds of different revenue streams are going to become more popular for artists as it becomes more and more evident that just streaming your music is just not enough to make ends meet.
I was saying, don't say that we can't advertise in the middle of an album. Next thing you know, rappers will be rapping, "Go buy a Coke because I got the smoke. Vans on my feet. I run the streets." That's gonna be the ad placement of the album. You never know. You never know.
hey, this podcast is being brought to you by Vinyl Thoughts podcast merch available at Crossfader LA.com. There you go. All right, so can't tell me that you can't stop and advertise in the middle
Oh,
of.
okay, but we're podcasts. That's different. We have ad breaks, right?
I
But
got you.
that reminded me that people, because a lot of days people find music now via TikTok, right? And people have
Sure.
donation links in their TikTok as well. So
Yes,
for,
absolutely.
uh, Chapel Rowan, right, grew up got famous on TikTok. You better believe her page on TikTok has links to her shop, her Patreon, her donation link, whatever. Because right, we're always just thinking about different ways artists are able to make money. So I think but to summarize, I think the Metro Boomin is like very much like thinking
Yeah.
correctly for the future of just like how money's going to be made.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for summarizing that, Jeremiah. And I think we should probably move on. I do think we have time for one more news story. I know, Father, you pulled one up. I don't know if you want to introduce what you had looked into this week.
Yeah, so I found an article in Variety magazine, and basically Sheryl Crow, who's she's an artist. I don't know if she has anything out right now or recently, but Sheryl Crow is 62. Her genre is more of either soft rock or rock, separate from, at least in my opinion, from hip hop or rap and things of that nature. However, she took the time to make a comment about Drake using AI to make his single or his song, what's it called, Tailor Made.
Taylor made,
Um,
yeah.
she was actually very bothered by it. She was upset about it. She made some very strong comments in the article, and how she despised the fact that he would use somebody else's voice through AI to make revenue or to just get the song out there. Um, let me see exactly what she said. Her point was Crow believes that bringing back the voices of deceased artists through AI is disrespectful and anti ethical to the art form. And that's just AI having an effect on not only the music business, but it's affecting artistry in general, whether it's music, whether it's art, as in drawing or as in pictures, or even in filmmaking. AI is really like a technological um, enemy that multiple people are fighting on different fronts, because at the end of the day, it is going to affect all of us in some form, shape, or fashion.
Yeah.
I was going to just note that she actually released an album in March of this year, which I was just unaware of. Um, so go check out her album. But yeah, I think I not to rehash the most famous beef of this year. Drake lost the beef, the rap beef. We all know this. I think there's something just very insidious about tailor made freestyle specifically that I'm glad people who are not even in the hip hop community are able to recognize that puppeting someone's voice, especially the voice of someone who is like deceased, to is for is just in any sense kind of ghoulish, but specifically in the sense to poke fun at someone in a rap beef is like as Sheryl Crow said, it's anti art. It's disrespectful. It's disrespectful to the platform. I think Kendrick mentioned it in his pop out show. Right? Are we going to let them disrespect our legends? Referencing, I imagine, Drake disrespecting Tupac by using his voice like that. And I think, again, not to the blame of the point. I think doing that, I think, really highlighted Drake's lack of respect for hip hop culture, honestly. And
Yeah.
then B, to your point, Father, I do think it to a larger issue of just that AI itself is very dangerous in how it allows for. I don't want to get to like say immoral, but like people to do fucked up things without other people's consent, right?
Right.
And then here Drake's thinking of music by one of the most popular artists. I am glad to see that people are like pretty generally pushing back on that being a thing that is okay to do.
Her last comment of the article actually was, the only way to combat AI is live music. It's the one thing AI can't do is play live music or live instruments. So
That's true.
Well,
that's
there is Hatsune Miku, but that's different.
Go ahead. Explain to us what that is.
You know, you guys not you guys don't know what Hatsune Miku is?
No.
I don't even know what you said, but go ahead.
Oh, that's okay.
Is that for another podcast?
Maybe it might. Hatsune Miku was pretty big, actually. Okay, so make a long story short, as opposed to AI as we understand it more recently, which is taking information and songs and stuff from the internet without consent and using it and all this like kind of unethical shit. There's a different set of technology where I believe what had happened is that record labels hired singers to come and lend their voices to a project and then combine those voices to make a singer. And they're called vocaloids. And the most famous version of that is a uh, figure called Hatsune Miku, who is extremely popular in Japan and in somewhat in the US, and is like has a bunch of shows, has live concerts with like live bands supporting the singing, and it's the whole industry, but it's like done in a much different way than generative AI is. Like it's not as if Hatsune Miku is taking the dead voices of singers and then making her own voice. It's like the record label is like paying these different singers, like, hey, come in, like sing these songs for us, and then using those voices, using whatever, we will like engineer a different voice for this character that we have.
I think, but what Cheryl Crow was referring to was just a live band. Like if you went to a small club and you had a drummer, a trumpet player, a guitar player, and a singer, that's the live band she's referring to. Not, as far as bringing in live singers and then duplicating that through AI. She's just saying like a live band is something that AI can't replicate, on the spot.
Yes, yeah, you are right, and that is true. Like AI can't do jazz, for instance. Like jazz is so like improvisational and I feel like you if you want to see jazz authentically, you see it live, for instance.
Got it.
Uh, so yeah, no, but yeah, I agree with her point. This also making me realize that you guys don't know about Tatsune Miku, and we may have to do an episode to fix that. We'll see.
Nah,
Put
I
put
think I
put
think
put,
it's
put a pin
fine.
in that. Put a pin in that. No. Put a pin in that.
It sounds like a side B Patreon episode right there.
Y'all
So
can't keep pushing out these banger ideas to side B. The docket's getting too full.
The main show docket is too full. So when the computer drops a new album, let me know.
I think she did recently. I think she did recently. That's why I mentioned it.
Well, we gotta wait till next cycle. We missed it. If we
All
gotta go,
right.
if we go back to that, we gotta go back to Charlie XCX and all the other hot artists that dropped while we were on break. So
it
we
didn't
have to
make
move
it to the
on.
Billboard 100. So too bad.
All righty. Well, I think it's time to move on to the next segment of the show. Our other new segment, which is singles of the week. Father, I have you listed up here first, so I'll let you go first.
Oh
What's your
man,
single of the
damn.
week?
All right, so we'll single of the week. For me, it's going to be
You left. I don't know what happened.
all right. So Father's single of the week. It's a song called "Lucid" and it's by the group called Sacred Souls. When I heard this song, I at first thing they had an album out already, and I didn't realize that these guys were probably in their 20s to 30s. They sound like they've been around since the 1960s and 70s, but they're not. They're a young group with a very not to say original, but very mature and soulful sound. And you guys will recognize their work because it is the song that Vince Staples sampled in Black and Blue. The song is called "Weak for Your Love." That's actually the group called
Oh,
the Sacred Souls, and they've only been around since I believe in 2020, and they're from the San Diego area. So these guys are like I said, the song's called "Lucid." It'll be attached to the playlist of the week. We forgot to mention that, but there'll be a playlist attached to this episode that references the songs that we're talking about, plus some other stuff that coincides with the album and the singles of the week. So, the band is touring right now. If you are interested in listening or purchasing their product, go to daptone.com. The name of the group is called The Sacred Souls. The song is called Lucid. It's hot. Um, Go get it. Go cop it. It's dope.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your single of the week, Father. I appreciate it. You guys should definitely give it a listen, especially since Jim Staples sampled it, and we all know how much we enjoyed that album.
sure.
It is now my turn to give my single of the week. Cool. Let's go ahead and do it. So the single that I decided to do was "Girl So Confusing" by Charlie XCX, but specifically because I wanted to keep this as topical and up to date as possible. I chose the Lord version because that remix came out just about a week ago By the time this goes up, it'll be probably 2 weeks. But as of recording, it
There's
came
a
out last.
Lord version?
There's a Lord version. It's the Lord remix.
Okay.
'Cause,
I need to listen to that
you know,
right now, actually. Holy
I
fuck,
didn't.
fuck the show. I need to go listen to Lord's remix right now.
My good friend Gina, when we were listening to the song, told me that the girl so confusing is about her relationship with Lord, and then Lord hopped on the remix. To speak on the song itself really quickly, I mean, while I'm talking about the remix, I actually prefer the original version, but I do like the fact that Lord hopped on the remix, and I like the fact that they discussed how the music industry was the music industry, and I think even maybe their fan bases may have been putting them against each other and comparing them based off some similarities they may have, and it created a little bit of tension and misunderstanding between them. But it seemed kind of really dope that they put that aside and they were able to figure out their relationship, and they're able to be based on the song, friends and people who will, to quote, ride for each other. And that's super dope to see people come together instead of having some long drawn out beef like we know some other artists will have. But the other reason why I want to talk about that single was because if you haven't listened to Charlie XCX's new album Brat, I know we're not going to talk about it because it's already been out for a couple weeks now, and we're trying to keep this season very topical. But that album came out while we were on break. It was a really good album. Fantano actually gave it a 10 out of 10. I think I'd give it a 9 out of 10. There were a couple songs that I didn't like, but also it's not my genre, so I could see how some people consider it a 10 out of 10. It's definitely solid. So go give that album a listen, and that's my single from the week.
All right.
I just want to quick call out. I have 62 liked songs from Lord on my Spotify. I'm subscribed. I did not know about Lord's remix. Thank you for listening to this right now.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good night, guys. See you later. Oh shit! I'm on the big stage. Welcome to Jeremiah's single of the week. My colleagues have chosen songs that I'm sure you may have heard of in passing. I've chosen perhaps the most obvious option, the number one Billboard single, "Please, Please, Please" by Sabrina Carpenter.
Number one Billboard single.
And for the record, I'm not going to just be the guy who picks the most popular option every week, unless it's a good song, in which case "Please, Please, Please" is an absolute banger of a song. It is such a weird, like, 70s, 80s like vibe that also like pairs really well with how Sabrina makes her voice very soft while also very like personable and almost like mocking the points in the song. And it's just really well written. It's like a very solid pop anthem about not embarrassing yourself for a man who is gonna say he loves you and then treat you poorly, which is like not like a brand new subject for like the pop genre, but I think it's approached in a fresh way here. And it's a really fun song. Like I can hear it in my head right now as I'm talking to you guys. If you haven't heard it already, how? But if you haven't heard it already, go listen to it. It's great. And honestly, I may have mentioned this on the show, but the whole album that this is on is actually pretty great, like content. Like this often has this song, Espresso, which is also a hit, but it also has just in general like, deals with her relationship with her father who cheated on her mom. It's a whole thing that plays into her relationship with men, as the album explains, and kind of recontextualizes a lot of these like fun pop songs about boys and about men. When the album opens with like her talking about how much her dad like cheating fucked up those relationships going forward. So I think it's a really interesting album. I'd recommend it. And that's my single.
I feel like maybe it's because I'm not always the biggest pop music fan, but I feel like pop music is kind of on like I don't want to say a resurgence, but I feel like pop music, there are a bunch of new and upcoming pop artists that are making the pop genre really interesting, I'd say, but from my perspective, more interesting than it was in the last couple years. So I think, I'm really excited to see how this year shakes out.
I think.
Go ahead.
I would argue that like the evolution of different ways of like marketing through like TikTok and through the short form content has allowed artists who otherwise would not get like mainstream appeal start to like for instance like Chapel Rowan has been doing music for 10 years or so, and it's only like recently after like their consistent work on like TikTok and other platforms really blew up with with their album, right? And so I think we're just going to see like more of that as more and more artists they like start to like use those different like new marketing things to get music heard and out there, and also like find their audiences. I think because TikTok particular is really good, and like new social media sites are really good in general about helping you find your audience. And I think artists are really taking advantage of that. And I think Pop's a great example of that. So you have Spirit Carpenter, you have Chapel Rowan, you have Lord coming back, amazing. Uh, and yeah, and debatably, and we'll talk about this. Debatably, you have Kalani, but that's a whole other thing to get into a little bit here.
I mean,
Yeah.
as someone who hates social media, I'm glad to see social media doing something good.
I never knew you hated social media.
Yeah, wait, stop the show. When do we hate social media?
Why
I know you didn't like it, but like hate, it's like a new one, I think.
I think social media creates a lot more bad than it does good. Therefore, it's a net negative to society.
Damn.
I mean, yeah. I can see. It's like you can do 100 things right, but you do one thing wrong, and everyone remembers you for that one thing wrong, right?
Exactly.
And I feel that social media is just multiply that times 100 million because all you hear on social media is either banter, you hear world star, you know what I mean? Like all the negative things that like you hear more bad things than good things, and that just is just a shame of how it's affecting our society. So
yeah, social media has. Go ahead.
No, I agree with you. Is what I'm gonna say.
It's really made it easy to put it into like I feel like straightforward terms. Social media has made it really easy to monetize all the negative aspects of society, which then encourages people to recreate the negative aspects of society, even on the level of streamers just going out and being annoying because being annoying and streaming will get you views. It's like it's that's just social media. That's why I feel so negatively about it. But like it does have some positives, but I overall would argue if I were to sit here and argue about it, I'd argue the negatives of social media outweigh the positives.
That's interesting. I think I feel differently, but I can't like discount that's a really valid feeling about it because there is just a lot of negative that comes with social media, especially with in recent years how it has become more and more monetized and more predatory with the data collection and privacy violations that like Facebook and Twitter and all those are doing.
Yeah.
So that's a really interesting topic for a whole other day, I think. Unless you guys want to get into it, but like, yeah, if you want to talk more about that, put that in the comments below, and we'll do a hub episode about just social media. But for now, we have the main course to get to here.
Do it.
Our album of the week, brother. What's your album of the week?
Our album of the week this week is. Can I get a drum roll, please? Crash by Kalani. Wait, hold on. Did we spell that right? There's an H in that. There's an H in her name.
There is an H in her name. It's KEHLANI.
Yeah, right. Okay, I got it. I can fix it.
I think someone's a fake fan here, but I don't know.
There we go.
Lower H.
What the? Get him out of here, folks. Get him out of here.
All right, so I'm gonna say I'll say this first, and then you guys can jump in after me. All right. She might win a Grammy for this album. Ooh, I think the album is probably. I mean, you know what? Look, I'm gonna tell you straight up. Before listening to it, I probably wouldn't really have paid attention to it. It might have played like if it was playing at Starbucks in the background, I probably would have been like, "Ah, it's cool, whatever," but didn't care. But actually sitting down and listening to it and kind of analyzing it and kind of falling into the grooves of the record. I mean, it's number one. It's for mature audiences only. So
yeah, it is.
Yes, for those at home, Kalani's is an explicit lesbian woman, and she makes that very clear on this album. So
actually, Jeremiah,
make sure
they are not.
I thought they were. I thought they were.
Kalani identifies as non-binary.
Oh, okay, a non-binary lesbian. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yes. So when we talk about they have an album, it's just one person.
Yes.
Yes.
But so anyway, back to what I was saying. This album, I really like the diversity on this album. It is not confined to just one particular genre. I feel that it's just it checks a multiple boxes, and I don't think she just checking boxes to check the box. I just think the music is just diverse and it's well done. I appreciate the
Yeah.
production. I was really impressed by it. So that's what I want to start with, and then I'll open it up to you guys.
I am shocked and upset that Father likes this album more than me. I think that's not fair. Uh, I I like so many of Kalani's songs. I like, let's see, I have here, I like, there's Nights Like This. They did a couple, like, I think 2020, my favorite songs of that year. I just, generally speaking, love their sound and love the way that they are able to, like, make, just make their voice and make the melodies work for them. And to be clear, actually, I do quite like Crash, but there were a couple of songs that I, like, struggled to remain in my head. I think. I think of this relatively short, like, piece of work, there were, I think, a handful of songs where I'm just kind of like, okay, that's not bad, but I'm not excited to hear it, right? So, like, I kind of feel conflicted about those songs, but overall, I do think it's a good piece of work. I don't know if I would give it a Grammy, but I am glad that other people do.
Sorry, my comment was that I can see it winning a Grammy. I didn't say it was a 10 out of 10. I didn't, there's a difference. I just, when I hear it, I could see her winning a Grammy on this album. So I think it's a really good album. I love the diversity. Doesn't necessarily mean that I think every song on there is a banger. It's a difference.
This album is really good. I like it a lot. There are multiple songs that I like the album as a piece of art as a whole, and I like multiple different songs as standalone tracks, in by themselves. So I think I resonate a lot, Father, with your statement that you could see this album winning a Grammy. Um, and the statement actually takes me on a separate tangent of how the Grammys always get things wrong, which is why I wouldn't say this
Yes,
album win a Grammy, because that would imply the Grammys would do something right, which I don't have the
true.
utmost
They
confidence in
probably
the
give
Grammys
it.
to go ahead and do it.
They probably give it to Iggy Azalea somehow again.
Why are you lying? Taking it gonna
Oh
get
my
it.
goodness.
Oh, you're right. You're right. You said.
Uh,
Oh, let me start on.
but yeah, but I mean, I think this album is really good. I think objectively, I'd agree that this is worthy of a Grammy. And actually, if the one song to start to get into specifics, After Hours, I don't know if that's I don't know if that's actually, I don't know if she has any specific lead singles on this album. But After Hours is definitely a song that I think might go on to, like, catch the airwaves, get stuck in people's ears. And that song alone,
Okay.
I actually would be very happy if it won a Grammy for just, best performance type thing.
After Hours is a great club banger. It has a very catchy hook, and it samples Sean Paul. And the name of the song is Temperature.
Oh,
So
you
it,
know what's
it
funny? It does sample Sean Paul, and here's a fun fact: I hate that Sean Paul song. Whenever like the first time I heard After Hours, and whenever the song starts, I have to power through that intro, because the intro is just kind of, it's making it very clear what the sample is, and I don't like that song. So that I actually like almost despise the first 5 seconds of the song, but then the sample blends into the rest of the beat, which is really dope. And it isn't as obviously that the sample comes through, but there's so much done around the sample that it works for me. Whereas the original Sean Paul song does not work for me personally. But
Got it.
that's just, I know that's just me. I know people love
Yeah.
that song. That's just me.
I will say, if you guys like After Hours, I'd recommend going back and revisiting Kalani's other, like, work, because a lot of their songs have the same, like, energy and, like, vibe as After Hours. So definitely a lot to look forward
It's
to
funny you say
in
that.
their discography. Yeah, what's up?
It's funny you say that, because I think Kalani would say differently.
That's
I
so
was
interesting.
listening to an interview from her earlier today. It was actually a Power 106 interview. Shout out Power 106. And she was talking about how on her last album, it was very slow and more just like a lower energy. And she talked about how she had a hard time touring for it, because not a hard time because it was like hard to tour, but because she
Because
would
it's
go
slower.
out. Yeah, she'd go out and she'd be ready to sing and it'd be fun and dandy, but she kind of felt bad that people were like coming out to party, and then they didn't know what they were getting, but like she felt like there wasn't enough songs on the album to really party to, and she was hoping to get a little bit more of that on this one.
I was saying I was watching Bootleg Kev podcast last night or whatever, and he was interviewing DJ Head. Shout out to DJ Head. Just saw him at the pop up last week. And basically, the one comment that relates to this is stop making slow music. And he's just talking to the music to the music industry. It's like we want 90 BPMs or above. You know what I mean? Because we want energy now. We want to see people out there, really going back to dancing and shaking their ass. But the music over these last couple of years have been kind of on a slower, mumble, monotonous kind of groove. So to hear him say that, I thought was pretty funny.
To answer to kind of tie both points, I actually don't like a single song. It's not just that. I don't have a single song from Kanye's last album in my playlist, to clarify. So I would actually agree with them that like the last album is pretty slow. It's kind of its own thing, and it could be memorable, but I didn't remember it, right? But prior to that album, they had a lot of songs that I feel had a very similar tempo and cadence to this song, and I'm glad to see them return to it for this album. There were songs like there's not particularly one pretty slow song on this album that I do like, but it's such a different vibe than everything else that the first time I was listening to the album all the way through, it definitely took me off guard. Where I was just, I had to like pause and be like, "Whoa, what happened? Where am I?"
What was the song?
It was, I want to say it was Susia.
Susia?
Yeah.
Yes, I have that.
Yeah, Susia. Like Susia is really slow and I guess sensual. I don't know how to. Yeah,
Psychedelic soul, and you have Jill Scott starting off the song with some very, deep, intense, erotic spoken word. So yeah, I mean, like I said, when I first heard, this album, I was like, I like all the different sounds and the genres and the melodies and the soul and all that. And then on top of that, when I was like, wait, is she singing about what I think she's singing about? You know what I mean? Like it's not so when we say it's for mature audiences only, like some of the words are obviously blatant and she's exactly what she's talking about. But it also kind of is almost subtle in a way where back in let's say the 70s or let's just say the 80s, an artist could be talking about making love or whatever, and it was hidden in the words. You have to be old enough to understand what they're talking about, right?
yeah.
And,
For
we're
example, Peaches and Creams. That's a big example of that.
there you go, peaches and cream, right? We're all of the age we understand what they're talking about, but she kind of does that in some of these songs where it's like,
I heard that too.
you know what I mean? It's like, oh, is that what she's talking about? Like, oh shit, So
can I say what song I found so funny for that reason specifically?
Which one?
8.
Yeah, it was that. I found 8 so fucking funny.
I like that song a lot. That song
Me too.
that was really catchy.
Hey, so
it's a hit. It's funny. It's good.
Yes. So for me, when we talk about like the best song on the album, I like After Hours, but so 8 is, I'm a hip hop head. So that beat she sampled is from a guy named Kwame who used to wear polka dots all the freaking time, and I used to love that song, which I think was called I forgot the name of the song, but anyway, it samples Kwame, and it was a dope song in itself, and to hear her take that beat and flip it the way they did on the song and make that catchy hook, I think is really dope. And I think if the subject matter wasn't so mature, it could be a single. And the difference between like her, like this song being a single versus like Sexy Red and Drake having their little single or whatever, which I'm thinking like, whatever, shake your ass, whatever, like the difference to me is like this is really very, very mature. It's very suggestive. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't want an 8-year-old kid singing, running around on the playground, 888. You know what I mean? Like it's. So I don't think it'll be a single on the radio, but I think it's probably like one of the better songs of the album. Like it's just a good song.
For as well as music has been suggestive, kids have been singing about knowing what it's about, and I don't think that would change with 8 specifically. That was it.
All right, no problem.
My favorite song on the album is actually track 11, Deep. Um,
Oh yeah, Deep is
I
interesting.
think that I remember I listened to that and it caught me and I pulled up the lyrics and I was kind of
Oh,
reading
that
the
beat.
lyrics along.
That
That
beat
beat
is
is
hard.
crazy.
Yes, it is.
The when all the different I guess when all the different singers come together and harmonize with them on the track, like everything about it just comes together really well, and I think it really embodies. I think this really does embody the theme that Kalani was going for on the album, just about having a new moment to be an artist all on their own without having any scandals attached to their career, and just existing in this moment and putting their work out there. And I think this is super dope. That song is gonna stay on my playlist for a while. Absolutely.
Yeah, I can see that. I appreciate the samples that they used on this album too. Like, right, I mentioned Kwame, I mentioned Sean Paul, and then they even sampled "What a Girl Wants" by Christina Aguilera, or whatever. Which I was like, that's a. It was simple, but it worked. It was effective for the song. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't just like a regular loop. It just the way they created these beats. I think the producers did a phenomenal job. So kudos to them.
I would say my favorite song might be Eight, but if it's not Eight, it's Better Not. I think Better
Okay.
Not is
Okay.
such a different like switch in tempo that is like a really nice contrast to everything else. One in itself also just being a really it's like it's not funny, but it's a little bit funny in the sense that it's like kind of vulnerable, you know? And the way that like sometimes being vulnerable is kind of funny because we like relate to it. There's like how I try to articulate this. There is a specific kind of almost awkwardness that comes with the idea of like having your feelings for someone and then like talking to them about like like I this hurt my feelings, but like we're good, but do it again. That like I think this song touches on and captures really well, while also just being a really nice track to listen to.
on on your guys' versions, I don't know where you guys listened to the album. Did it have the After Hours Catered to You remix at the end after Lose My
No, I
Wife?
did
I
not.
don't recall.
No, I did not.
No, I figured I was like Apple Music has a 14th track called it's a remix to After Hours. And I feel like I'm just coming back to it. I remember listening to that remix and I was like, yo, this makes the song even better. Like this elevates it to even a whole nother level. So yeah, I just come back to that.
I'm I'm
It's a
at
good
to
album. I definitely
I'm
think
at
this
to
is one of
find
my
that
favorites.
version because the regular version I thought was a hard ass beat. So
It
I'm gonna have to
is.
check out that
Yeah.
remix.
Oh, this I don't want to talk. I like there was not any songs from album I hated at all. Like no, I want
I
to the
agree.
question.
I agree with that.
I don't think I cared for Lose My Wife, but like I didn't hate it. It's just like I don't think it wasn't for me.
I liked Lose My Wife on first listen, but after the first listen, it just wasn't like like it's a good song, but there's no reason for me to put it in my playlist. That's how I felt about Lose My
Yeah,
Wife.
yeah, I think it feels similarly.
And then I thought like the first song, Groove Theory, caught me off guard. Like
Oh
I
yeah,
appreciate the
Yeah,
beat flip. You know what I mean? Like I said, it's just a good album. I recommend
it is.
everyone to give it a shot. Take it for a spin. You're gonna enjoy it. If you don't, then drop us a comments. Let us know why you think it doesn't bang. But
honestly, too great album for Pride Month. Actually,
It is. It is a great album to close out Pride
ten
Month,
out of
even though
10.
even
10
though
out
our
of 10.
episode won't go up till after Pride Month is over.
Well, hey, Pride Month should be every month, so go out there and
I like that answer. I like that. I
listen
like
to
that.
Kalani. Support your local gay people.
um, yeah, I think I want to close out by saying when we started reviewing albums at the beginning of the year, I felt like a lot of the albums we listened to, we were kind of mid, for lack of a better term. But I feel like as we continue to progress through the year, the albums are getting progressively just better and better. And like, between this and Vince Staples and just some of the albums we've been listening to on this latter half of recording, I'm really enjoying a lot of these albums, and I'm glad we're taking the time to listen to them and talk about them.
Yeah, I'm really glad we didn't try to compare this to anything else.
yeah,
I agree.
this format and this formula allows us to really dissect an album and really soak it in, and because it took me some time to actually soak it in, and listen to every song and do some homework
Yeah,
in the samples, read about it. So that doing one album really allows us to give the album the justice and the attention it deserves. Like we've talked about in season one, that every album is a body of work that someone put their heart and soul into it, and we should respect it. And I think that, in basically reviewing two albums at once, we kind of gave some albums we didn't give it the attention it deserved, or the
yes,
so by doing this, I think we're doing our due diligence, and allows us to really look into an album, understand it, see where the artist is coming from, and really give it a much better evaluation.
yeah, I agree.
So I think with that being said, we can begin to wrap it up. Definitely had fun with the new formula, the new format. We appreciate everyone that's checking us out. It's our first episode for season two. We definitely appreciate everyone being here. We look forward to doing the next episode. Um, this will now be a um, weekly podcast of right.
Yes,
Jeremiah's giving me that perplexed look, like we didn't say that, but
we did say
um,
that.
We
so
did say that.
okay, so so it'll be weekly. Um, I'm not going to say what date, but it will be weekly, and we do expand. We will attach a playlist to this. So whether you watch it or you listen to it in audio format, there will be a Spotify playlist with all the songs that we mentioned, plus some other stuff um, to hug your ears. All right, so it's been a pleasure hanging out with you guys.
It has been
We'll
a
catch you
pleasure.
guys again, and we'll see
We
you
will.
guys on the flip side. Peace.
Peace.
All right, Jeremiah. Got it.